Hello everyone, welcome to Water 8. I'm Sacrobolic, your Envoy of Hope. This time I decided to watch anime that was discussed in my Discord. This will probably be a long video. Let's just get into it. Started off, Mad Bull 34. This is like an OVA series from the early 90s about a police officer in corrupt New York who he's kind of like a loose cannon cop whose solution to everything is just like the most outrageous violent solution possible. And he has, I think, a Japanese partner that's like new to the force who's trying to like keep him who's a lot more by the book. Looking at it, he's not Japanese, but he has this new partner who's a lot more by the book, who's trying to keep Mad Bull from going crazy. It's a fun, wacky time. There's a cyborg Olympian that shows up at one point. The only real issue with Mad Bull has like a bunch of grenades tied to his pubic hair. It's a fun time. I will say there is one scene, I think in like episode 3, where he doesn't want to get into a relationship with a girl, so he takes off all of his clothes and pretends to try and rape her. Feel like dialogue would have been a better way to handle that. But yeah, Mad Bull, pretty fun time. Next up, Ga-Rei Zero. Ga-Rei Zero is an anime prequel to the manga Ga-Rei, which is a spin-off of another manga called Tokyo ESP, which I always intended to read but never did. I mention all of that because Ga-Rei Zero doesn't explain its setting, just kind of throws you into the thick of it. It starts off actually with a terrible first episode about a group of randos hunting monsters, and then they get wiped out at the end by who is the character that is actually the main protagonist of the Ga-Rei Zero anime, not of the Ga-Rei manga, because there are different protagonists. In this specific one, it appears to be this sort of like adopted noble girl with powerful abilities that's supposed to be the successor of her family, but then her cousin uses some like tricky manipulation to like fuck her over and get her kicked out of the family. And so she ends up making a pact with a monster and uses a foxzone to become evil. And I imagine that just kickstarts the plot of Ga-Rei. I have to say, the main character, the protagonist of here, the one that turns evil at the ending, and also technically at the end of the first episode, is an interesting enough character, and I did like her, and I did like seeing how she developed and handled the situations. But unfortunately, when it like opens with her already being evil, and you're like, well, how does she turn evil? The answer of a stone made her turn evil, not very satisfying. Miru Tights is a long-standing joke in my streams. Unfortunately, it's about feet and tights and legs. That's pretty much what it's about. Unlike the Hiniko series or Show Me Your Panties, Miru Tights, it basically gives you a setup for a reason why you're about to get a bunch of pantyhose shots, and then you get a bunch of pantyhose shots. I don't remember anything too plot-oriented around it, but apparently I gave it a 6, so there had to have been something redeemable about it. I don't know. Okay, another was a manga I actually started reading well before this. I read like 3 chapters, I think, and then stopped because I was bored out of my fucking mind. And guess what? Watched the anime, still bored out of my fucking mind. What? It kind of wraps this whole thing in like a mystery subplot about a mysterious like extra student, but like people just randomly die. I didn't really connect to any of the characters. The main character is in this, not the girl that you're seeing right now. It's actually the guy. He is so boring and so generic that there is another guy in the show that I kept mistaking him for, who looks more like a main character, but like not even like a main character, like a boring generic main character. So there's a character who looks boring and generic but more like a main character than the actual main character. Another is basically the story of a side character. It is just not interesting, and the plot twist at the end was lame, because the whole thing sets you up to think it's one of the students, and then it isn't. Fruits Basket stars Toru Honda, who I once cited as my first waifu. I don't waifu her nearly as hard as I used to, but this is like an OG shoujo romance series, and I will say there are some There are some really slow, uninteresting scenes in the remake, but I'll be damned if I don't think it's a cute, comedic, funny romance at times. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where the rest of the seasons go. Le Chevalier D'Eon is an anime with a fancy title. It takes place in the early mid 18th century Paris, around a knight/secret agent D'Eon, who his sister has recently died and he needs to investigate her death. He ends up with a group of other secret agents who are working for King Louis the 15th. There were a lot of King Louis. You're going to have to forgive me. The King Louis XV. And what I liked about Chevalier D'Eon is that there was a lot of political intrigue to it, and there was some spy thriller stuff, and I liked the historical perspective, because I don't see a lot of anime that goes back in time, although Paris is a popular one when it comes to going back in time. I will say it's fairly anachronistic. I mean, they go to Russia at one point, and then Peter takes over the Russian throne from his mom, and then in the same scene, Catherine takes the throne from him, and I'm pretty sure it didn't go that fast. I think in real life she took the throne in 6 months, but it certainly wasn't 2 minutes, which is what Chevalier D'Eon shows. But I don't know, I think it's fun. I think the England arc, when they go to England, was actually pretty dull, though. Would have liked that to have been picked up. And my actual biggest problem is, first off, the main character turns into his sister. Not a fan of that aspect. Would have liked a more of an investigation about this mythical sister character without him just becoming her. I think if they cut out the supernatural elements, it would have been a better series. And there was too many plot twists at the end. There was 5 or 6. We could have done with 1 or 2. We didn't need that many plot twists. Anthem of the Heart is about a girl who refuses to speak because she basically cursed herself after her dad blamed her for their divorce. Her parents are assholes to her. She never speaks to any of her class, but she turns out that she can sing, and so they end up doing a musical, and she ends up liking the main guy, and they do not end up together at the end, but that's not really the point, because I'll say this, it makes a real shit-ass romance, but it's more about this wallflower coming out of her shell, and it's not subtle about that, because what put her into her shell was an egg. Yeah, the symbolism is just right there. I don't know what you want me to tell you, so I'll tell you about that. Vinland Saga is about a kid named Thorfinn, and it starts off with his dad having to participate, I think, in a war of some sort. You're gonna have to forgive me, I watched most of this crap a month ago. And I think that the opening with his dad and he first off, Thorfinn is a shit kid, and I fucking did not like him from where to go, and by the end of this fucking season, I did still not like Thorfinn. In fact, I don't like any character in this show. But yeah, Thorfinn's a little shit from where to go, and it starts off with him as a little kid, and then his dad gets killed, and then he's determined to kill the guy who kills his dad, so that brings us on to a whole other arc about him trying to kill the guy that killed his dad, and then there's a time skip, and now he's a teenager, and then they participate in a war. The start was okay, and then it immediately went down the fucking drain. But there is a prince character in this who's based off of some Danish prince I don't remember because I don't know enough about the history of the Danes. It's Canute. That was definitely said wrong, but whatever. Canute, I don't know. You can fucking look him up, I'm sure. But yeah, there's a scene where he's talking to a priest, and he's all meek and mild-mannered, and then the priest is like, nah, life sucks and death's great, or some bullshit. I don't remember. It was dumb. But anyway, immediately after this fucking scene... No, yeah, I do remember. It did involve death being great, because the priest explains that love isn't real, and the only real love is death. And then immediately after the scene, this, meek, mild-mannered, almost afraid to stand up for himself prince immediately 180s into this guy that's giving everyone orders and doesn't care if he lives or dies. It's so stupid. Even if that scene had changed his entire perspective, the way this is portrayed portrayed is not that, like, his perspective is being changed or anything like that. It's just like a switch that flips in him, and all of a sudden his personality is completely different. Like, even if your outlook on life changes, it would still take you time to unlearn the more meek habits that you've picked up during your life. But nope, not for this guy, not in this scene. It's stupid. It's just dumb. So after shitting on a bunch of other popular series, we're going on to Baki second season, which is, let's be clear, the 4th season of Baki, but whatever, Netflix. Baki season 4 is about Baki participating in a Chinese martial arts tournament. It's a fun time. It's your basic Baki. This time Baki's poisoned, but he gets re-poisoned in this, and it cures his poison. And honestly, I thought the whole season would be about Baki being poisoned and, like, learning to work through the poison and, like, gaining immunity to it. No, he just fights a poison dude and then becomes unpoisoned. It's kind of dumb, and it kind of wastes the whole Baki is poisoned plot line. And then the second half, he fights Muhammad Ali Jr., and that's really dumb too, because it's like, oh, he's gonna fight Muhammad Ali Jr., and then Muhammad Ali Jr. fights a lot of, like, popular characters from from before in the series, and he beats their ass super easily. And then what happens after that is that he ends up challenging Jack Hanma from the actual season 2, and then Jack fucking beasts through him. I actually remember going into that fight thinking, there's no fucking way Muhammad Ali Jr. can beat Jack Hanma. This is some bullshit. If he wins this, he did not get anywhere close to winning this. And then immediately after, the previous characters that he'd already beat just come and beat the shit out of him. And then he challenges Baki to a fight, and then Baki just beats the shit out of him. There's a lot of anti-climaxes in the 4th season, and not a lot of building, and it kind of wastes a lot of its plot lines. I mean, it's a fun time, it's Baki, but I definitely feel like it left what it had built up go to waste. K is a weird series because it's fucking blue, and the whole goddamn thing is blue. And I don't know what's up with that. It's like there's a filter over it. But it's about the main character sees a video where he kills someone, and then he meets a cat with the magical powers of illusion, and then there's, like, kings, like, they're called kings that run these, like, groups all across Japan with magical powers that was once used to, like, blow up a large portion of the world. But the main character basically has this guy come up to him, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna kill you because my previous master told me that I have to kill you if you suck, and you suck. And so the main character's like, well, hang on, because I didn't kill anyone. So let me prove I didn't kill anyone. And he kind of didn't kill anyone. I won't get into it. I don't want to spoil it. It's nothing great. I will say, though, at the end, I think the character's name is Adolf Weissman. Adolf Weissman is a cool fucking character. I think this probably would have been, like, a straight 4, but Adolf Weissman, who got introduced in, like, the last 3 or 4 episodes, redeemed the whole thing. K Missing Kings is the movie sequel to the original K project. At this point, Adolf Weissman is missing, and the Red King is dead, so it's all about who's going to take over the Red King's seat, and what are they going to do in the absence of Adolf Weissman. And it has a nice little, like, character development with, like, the person that does become the new Red King. And I liked seeing that, and I liked seeing her journey. And it was kind of touching. Like, what I think K Missing King does well is it helps, like, K introduced this army of side characters, and Missing Kings kind of helps focus down on some of them and helps develop them. So over time, you begin to know them. Sort of like you're gaining a relationship with them. It's nothing outstanding, but it's a solid movie. K Return of Kings brings back Adolf Weissman. The Red King is now newly established, and then they bring out of nowhere a Green King. And the Green King uses video games to empower his subjects to fight for him, and then the Green King comes out of nowhere and just challenges everyone to a fight and starts winning, and there's this whole fucking subplot about fighting the Green King that genuinely goes on so long it gets boring. And then at one point, they're finally gonna beat the Green King, and then another king that has never been mentioned or shown before appears out of nowhere, sides with the Green King, and saves him. It is absolutely awful. It is just ridiculous. And then the ending conflict is decided about what to do with the power of the kings. The main character's like, well, we have to destroy them. And he gets into an argument with the Green King at the end that I feel I need to bring up, because the Green King is like, why do you need to destroy these powers? Look at how much good they could do with them, you know? He didn't make a very strong argument, but he made a decent enough one. And then the main character's reply was like, huh, you make a pretty decent argument. And then the cat's like, yeah, but you don't need magic powers to eat dinner together. And the main character's like, you're right, you don't need magic powers to eat dinner together. You know what? Fuck you, Green King. We're gonna destroy the powers. Like, I don't think the Green King's argument was super strong, but oh my god, the main character's reply was just god-awful. So Baccano is about a bunch of people on a train, all with different agendas. Some want to rob the train, some want to kill everyone on the train, some want to kill everyone else on the train that's killing everyone on the train. Some wants to just drive the train into a fucking stop, and then there's a bunch of people getting killed on a train. And it's about immortality also, because there's like this elixir that makes you immortal involved in it. I actually think they did something pretty clever with it. Baccano's nothing outstanding, but I ended up actually liking all of the characters. Well, most of the characters. I didn't really like the white suit serial killer man, but I liked most of the characters. Oh, and I didn't like Wine Guy. But there is this, like, couple of, like, bandits, this, like, Bonnie and Clyde bandit couple that are fucking amazing. Honestly, I think they redeem the whole fucking show. I'm not even sure if I would like Baccano as much if those two, like, rays of sunshine weren't in it. They actually appear in WIWR, too. So, yeah, I mean, it's a fun time. Hyouka is about this, like, mystery-solving detective boy, and he meets this, like, hot girl, and she's really curious about everything. And she keeps and he's really lazy, but she keeps asking him to solve mysteries, and he keeps not wanting to do it, but he keeps doing it because he finds her hot. And during the course of it, though, you actually see his character go from lazy to proactive, and sometimes even when she's not asking him to solve mysteries, he'll just go ahead and solve the mystery. So it actually has a really decent, like, character development as far as he goes. It's pretty okay. It's pretty interesting. The problem I have with it the most is that the mysteries themselves aren't very good or interesting. Like, most of them are, like, irrelevant stuff, like, I need you to find this object, or why am I not allowed in this room, or some shit like that. They build up multiple episodes why her grandpa got expelled, for example. Never do the solutions to these mysteries seem particularly satisfying, but more importantly than that to me is that the process, it tends to be a bit inscrutable. Like, they'll pull information that the audience didn't have access to out of nowhere to solve the mystery, which is hilarious because they comment on why that's a bad thing to do in mysteries, but yet they do it anyway. And solving the mysteries is incredibly hard if you don't read Japanese, because at least the version I read did not translate any of the Japanese text, and a lot of the solutions you need to read Japanese. So another issue that I had with this is that I couldn't solve the mysteries because I can't fucking read the language. Wasn't a big fan of that. So yeah, for a mystery show, I feel like the mysteries are definitely the weakest aspect of the show, but everything else it does is pretty okay. So wasn't this the show where the main character also, like, has a best friend and he's an asshole to this girl that likes him who's also one of the main characters? I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, that whole arc pissed me off. Private Lesson is about a teacher who has a crush on another female teacher, and then a sexually aggressive high school student shows up and, like, forces her way into his life, and if he tries to get her out of his life, her dad will kill him because her dad is, like, a mob boss. and she ends up having to move in with him, and he has to, like, deal with her every whim. The first episode is kooky and crazy and kind of fun, but then the second episode introduces, like, these two girls who are annoying, and everyone else finds them annoying, and then there's this, like, plot about this gang guy who comes in trying to rape the main girl. The first episode is fun, the second episode is awful, it's a mixed bag. The Rose of Versailles is a classic anime. Watched quite a few of those this time around. About Oscar, who has a last name, but I'm just going to call her Oscar because it's going to be so much easier on me. Oscar, who is the daughter of a nobleman, but he wanted a son so bad he just treats her as a boy, and she ends up joining the royal guard in France right as Marie Antoinette becomes the Princess of France. And during the course of the show, it takes place over several years. I think like maybe even 20 or something. You get to see like Marie Antoinette first come in to Versailles, and then like over time she like grows up, she has children, she becomes more mature, she gets her head cut off. We know the story. And Rose at Versailles does an excellent job of establishing its characters and then kind of developing their mindset a bit and showing like the backgrounds and the upsets that led to the French Revolution, including the French Revolution. And there's not just that, there's also like political intrigue throughout the whole thing about, you know, the Duke of Orleans trying to unset the throne, or such a minor, like almost civil war causing dispute between Marie Antoinette and Madame du Barry. Like it's a genuinely enjoyable experience. And, you know, even though I was always interested, and I did not expect to just love this fucking series so goddamn much, I think the ending was a little lackluster, and I think you should have seen a little bit more of the guillotine at the end when Marie Antoinette is killed, but it was a genuinely enjoyable experience. Kimi ni Todoke, From Me to You, is a modern classic anime, and it is cliche, boring garbage. It is the same fucking romance story you've seen 100 times before. Wallflower girl likes popular guy. Hell, I even reviewed a similar story in this very video. It hits every single romantic cliche you've ever seen. Fucking best friends with a side, like with a love interest with each other, but there's like a conflict. One of the characters likes her friend's older brother. You see where that's going. Like rumors get spread around the main girl by a bitchy popular girl who's jealous of her. It hits so many cliches in such a short time. And like the characters are cute and likable, and I did like the characters, but it wastes them on just telling the same stories I've seen in romances over and over and over and over and over again. There's not one original plot line told in this show. Like, if you could think of a romantic plot line you've seen before, they probably did it in Kimi ni Todoke, except for they didn't have a secondary male love interest come in and try and steal the main girl from the main boy. So that did not happen. And I remember thinking somewhere around like episode 12 or something, man, can't wait till season 2 where they have another male character come in and try and steal away the main girl. Kimi ni Todoke's second season starts with a new male character coming in and trying to steal the main girl. Because if you thought this series was done being cliche in the first season, it somehow managed to get even more cliche in season 2. And this season frustrated me to no fucking end because it wastes all of the goodwill it builds up in the first season with its likable characters and makes them all fucking obnoxious. One of the key subplots is that the main heroine and the main boy, the male love interest, the main one, we're not even going to acknowledge the second one because he doesn't matter, are drifting apart, and everyone sees it, and everyone knows that they like each other except for those two, and they refuse to say anything, but they are getting so angry and frustrated throughout the course of the series that these two are being ignorant dumbasses about it, but they don't do anything to solve the problem. And I'm just going to tell you right now, if your side cast is getting pissed off at how long your romantic subplot is taking, you fucked up. Like, if the in-universe characters are irritated, imagine what the audience is feeling with this bullshit. But that's okay, because that's not the worst thing that Kimi ni Todoke second season does. The worst thing Kimi ni Todoke second season does is that in every romantic anime, they always build up to what is basically the climax of the romantic confession. And that's basically how all romances work ever. And Kimi ni Todoke is no different, except it tries to have its cake and eat it too, because it does not have just one romantic confession. Nope. It has 4 of them, all with the main characters, because every time the main characters confess to each other, the other one thinks that they're getting friend-zoned. And this is so egregious, this is so fucking insane, that at one point, the main boy comes up to the fucking main heroine and is like, I like you. And she's like, I like you too. And then they both walk away, and then they both start crying, and he's like, she friend-zoned me. And then she's like, oh, he friend-zoned me. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? Are you fucking serious, show? Did you just pull that bullshit? Oh my god. And then they have a confession where they both genuinely understand that they like each other. And then they have another confession where they agree to date. That was unnecessary. We didn't need to stretch out your fucking plot that much. Oh my fucking god, fuck this show. Nanatsu no Taizai season 4 or some shit, I don't even know at this point. Then basically the whole thing is in this weird contrived flashback where King and Diane go back in time in the bodies of the Giant King and the Zombie King to see how the original Holy War ended. It's actually kind of interesting to see how that worked out. And I did kind of appreciate that point, and we get to see real body Gother. So that was cool. But towards the end, though, Meliodas gets, turned full demon, and then he's like, well, I'm gonna become the king of the demons, and then we have, the evil main character subplot, and it just goes downhill, and it ends up as just another lackluster season of Nanatsu no Taizai. I have to say, even, the action scenes are getting less and less exciting as the series goes on. For a series that opened up with, a base-level enemy chopping the top off of a mountain, and you're like, oh shit, this series is going places. Now it's getting, less and less crazy, and it's, sure, there'll be, explosions or shit when someone gets punched, but, nothing big or outstanding or over the top. What I appreciated about the original Nanatsu no Taizai season is that it was an epic level campaign about a group of heroes that already finished their job the first time, and now they're back at it. And now it just feels like a regular journey of regular fantasy characters. And I mean, yeah, you can do that, but you have to go nutso with it. You have to do something unique, and it just stopped doing anything unique, and now it's just generic and boring. Monster, I'm going to spare you the full review on. I'm going to spare me the full review on, let's be clear, because I already wrote a 2,000-word, 4-page essay on my Discord about everything that I found wrong with it, more or less, and I guess if you want, you can go read that, but basically I'm just going to hit you with the highlights. I did not find a Monster enjoyable at all in the slightest. The only enjoyment I received from Monster was when it was so stupid, it was fucking hilarious. It hits it hits a bunch of soap opera cliched plot lines. There's a nameless assassin, a gold digger wife, a drunk cop. We've got government experiments on children. Twice we have that. We have evil orphanages. We have fucking hypnotism. We have multiple personalities. Twice. It's dumb as shit. Johan is a fucking not a great villain, because he's got this huge issue of everyone telling you how scary and intelligent and intimidating he is, but every time he's on screen, he's not those things, and the actions you see him perform in the show got to be so stupid that by episode 30, I was like, the only way his actions make sense is if he's trying to commit some kind of elaborate suicide. Which he was, so I guess his actions made perfect sense. Fuck me. But But yeah, everyone in the series knows who Johan is by the end of it, and for a guy who's supposed to be untraceable, got to be ridiculous how easy it was to find out, like, just how traceable he was. I mean, the guy was on a national news broadcast at one point, and my favorite examples of how traceable Johan was a psychologist figured out his identity in an afternoon, and then a cop who was about to retire figured out his identity in 2 hours. He's the most traceable guy ever. One of my other favorite characters in this show, though, is a dude named Roberto, who's actually scary because he's basically Roger from American Dad, in that he can be anyone at any point. Like, whenever a new character's introduced, there's a 1/10 chance that the character's just gonna be Roberto in disguise. It's actually hilarious how many times Roberto is revealed to just be some guy that is suddenly introduced into the plot. The only real thing I genuinely appreciated is the character of Ava Heinemann, who is the main character's ex-fiance, current fiance in, like, episode 1, but, like, ex-fiance by, like, episode 2, who, like, starts off as this, like, daddy's girl, like, wealthy, like, daughter of a hospital director, and then, like, her life spirals dramatically downhill. She becomes an alcoholic, and she becomes obsessed with getting revenge on the main character. And then by the end, she ends up as, like, she's not an alcoholic anymore, and she's, like, a genuinely good person, and she's trying to help people. She has a very good character arc, but Monster has almost no character development as far as anyone else goes, and for a 74-episode anime, it accomplishes almost nothing in that time. And I remember, like, I always avoided Monster because I'm like, how did they manage to take a story about a serial killer and make 74 episodes about that one concept? And the answer is by wasting all of our goddamn time. Oh yeah, and there are Nazis, and the Nazis have nothing to do with anything. I definitely did not put on as good of reviews in this episode as I normally would, and I probably said some shit that is certainly wrong because I waited so long to make this video, so I will have to apologize on that. In the future, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and, when I finish a new anime, then I'll make that audio segment for that anime, so it's a lot fresher in my head, and I can say shit that I'm actually more willing to back up. If you want, come check me out on my Twitch channel. We're playing Megami Iburoku Persona and Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise on PS4. But yeah, I'm Sacrobolic, your envoy of hope. This has been WIWR 8. See you next time. Bye-bye.